everyone, my name is Alex and I am the Makeup Witch. Welcome to part 2 of this makeup tutorial where I show you how to achieve my base routine using professional techniques. All right, let's get into the video. All right, we are in part 2 of the video. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my base now. This is how I do my foundation on myself, but also on my clients as well. I've already prepped my skin and I put sunscreen on. I don't really use a primer very often unless it's kind of like a hydrating primer. I tend to not like anything that's too like pore filling. So I'm always really scared that there's gonna be some sort of reaction where you get pilling. So I usually try to stay away from those. And just stick with really hydrating products for my clients. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin in shade 11. I'm just gonna take a couple pumps of this. I think I did about 3. Not that much. And take my little beauty sponge. So generally I start off pretty light, like coverage wise, and then if need be, I'll go in and start to either conceal or add a little bit more foundation in areas that I feel like might need it. My skin has been acting crazy recently, but we're just gonna pretend those aren't happening. I'm gonna take a little bit more. My sponge is damp, but with beauty sponges, they always tend to soak up a little bit more product than I would like them to. So let's just add a little bit more. It's pretty rare I use my hands on my clients. I try really, really hard to just use either brushes or sponges. But on myself, you can use your hands. Really pushing that in. Concentrating it only in areas where I feel like I need the most coverage. For me, it tends to be just kind of around this area right here and then like the sides of my nose. But I also try really hard to not do too much product around the sides of my nose because that's one of the first places you notice when it starts to get kind of cakey and you can start to see makeup. And take whatever's the remainder, bring it down my neck. Shade 11 is a really good match for me. I hope you can tell on camera. And if your clients ever have their hair back, make sure to cover their ears as well. I have more combination skin, so I tend to stick with mostly powder products, but my skin's been all over the place recently. And I am feeling a little bit more on the dry side, so I'm gonna stick with a little bit more creams this time. So let's see, let's go ahead and move into concealer. I just wanna add a tiny bit of coverage just kind of on my breakouts. This guy right here, right here. And then I'm gonna take my little baby sponge. What I do is I always like kind of pounce and then I kind of take whatever is the remainder and just kind of gently kind of roll that outwards. Because you want the coverage to be on the blemish itself. Then you want to kind of fade the edges out to the rest of the foundation. Gorgeous. So now I'm gonna go ahead and move into like a bronzer contour. This is actually, I believe it's a foundation shade. It's from Ben Nye. In the shade Olive 10. If you live in the LA area, there's a bunch of those like makeup specialty stores that carry like Ben Nye and stuff. And I love this for my Asian girlies who have a little bit more of like an olive undertone. Definitely a fave. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna use a Sigma, I think it's an F84 brush. I like that it has like an angle to it, so it's really gonna help hug the cheek. I just put some of what I'm gonna use for contour on the back of my hand because I wanna warm it up. Also, I'm not a big fan of like putting this on the face. I mean, on myself, obviously. I would never do that with clients, but on myself too. Because you're gonna disturb any sort of like concealing you just did, and that's the last thing I wanna do. So I'm just working it into the brush. I'm gonna knock off a little excess, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and hug the cheek. On my face shape, I tend to go a little bit higher As I reached 30, I'm actually 34, but when I hit 30, I noticed my contour was just almost getting too low. So we really want to bring everything up. Focusing that right here. Working that into the hairline. If you ever have a client too that has blonde hair, what you can do is just take a little makeup wipe afterwards and just kind of clean off any sort of little baby hairs that you might have got like bronzer on. You really want to stipple, because stippling ensures that you're not really messing with the foundation underneath or any of your concealer. Into the temples. Gonna move on to blush. I've been really loving the new shades that Rare Beauty came out. Let's see. This one is in Worth. I'm gonna go ahead and put this on the back of my hand. This is Worth. I'm gonna use the same brush. I'm pretty lazy when it comes to doing my own makeup. So I always end up using the same brush for kind of a lot of stuff. Kind of tapping that in, taking off any excess, and then we just want to add that. I haven't added any concealer yet just because I don't want to set it. So I tend to do this, my concealer last. So I go pretty high too. I notice also the standard blush technique is you put on the apples of your cheeks and you smile, but when you stop smiling, it tends to drop down. So pretty much on all of my clients, I go up pretty high, almost right underneath the eye. And really, because I want to lift the face as much as possible. A little bit on the temple. That's beautiful. Also adds just such like a pretty sheen to the skin. I'm gonna powder a little bit, but I'm gonna keep it pretty minimal today. So now we can go ahead and move into concealer. I'm gonna take the Nars, this one's in Cafe au Lait. I'm gonna take that right in the inner corner. Just where there's a little darkness. I don't like too much highlighting on myself, personally, but I don't mind a little bit. As you can tell, my concealer is not a super big contrast. I just want a little bit of brightness. Just adding a little bit of brightness right underneath the eye. That's pretty. Just taking that over the concealer and melting that into the blush. And then I'm gonna go back in with my blush brush and marry those two together. That's the thing I love about makeup, is nothing is permanent. So if you ever feel like this isn't blended out or this isn't working, then stop and fix it. Anything can be fixed in makeup. It's all about finding what works for you. I'm a makeup artist who, I'm a big perfectionist, but I'm pretty sure most artists are, but I will work on a face until I feel like everything is absolutely perfect. I will not send a client out unless they're 100% happy. Because unless they're happy, then I'm not happy. Like I would feel so awful sending a bride or a client like to a carpet or something and they aren't like absolutely in love with their makeup, you know, because when you feel good and you feel confident, you project that confidence. So now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna set my face. I'm gonna go ahead and use the MAC Studio Fix Pro Set and Blur. It's their translucent one. I'm just gonna do just a light powdering. I really like what we have going on the cheek, so I don't wanna disturb that too much. I'm just gonna use a Real Techniques, like I think it's their setting brush. The thing I like about this powder actually is there's like a little like mesh like sifter inside, and then there's a little cover on top. So you can easily cover it and then you don't spill everywhere, which is genius. I'm just going to pat this in, taking extra care to not disturb anything that's underneath. I'm really mindful of where I placed the concealer. It kind of depends from client to client, but I pretty much set all of my clients' faces. Usually I use the Mercier powder, but I switch. I have the RCMA one too that I like for my really oily clients. And then let's do a little bit of the Givenchy, the Prism Libre powder, the pink one, just to set the under eyes a little bit more. Because of my eye shape too, it's pretty common for you to get like mascara transfer. So I just want to take a little bit and do a tiny bit of baking. This just ensures that I'm not going to have any sort of transfer from my mascara, which there's nothing worse than when you finish a wedding and you have like black under eyes. So I don't want to bake too much, so I'm just going to go ahead and sweep this off. I also feel like I want to clean up right under here. So let me go ahead and take, let's use the Mercier setting powder. And take a little bit the Mercier powder, and let's do a little spongy this time. Or we'll do a little powder puff. I'm just gonna take a little triangle powder puff. And basically I'm loading the powder on the side because I want to use that to my advantage. So I'm gonna take it and I just want to clean up this edge. I'm gonna go ahead and take a brush and brush that away because I don't want too harsh of a line. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go back in with the brush that has the bronzer and the blush, the liquid products on. I'm just gonna stamp that because I want to bring a little bit more life back to the cheek. I like matte, but I don't like it too matte. So I do want to go in and enforce a little bit more bronzer. So I'm going to take the Samey 2.1 brush, and I'm going to use the Ambient Lighting Bronzer from Hourglass in Nude Bronze Light. I just want to add a little bit more like shape here. That's pretty. A little bit more blush, shall we? So I depot most of my blushes for my makeup kit in these Mayo palettes. So the one I think I want to use today is Love Cloud from, I think this is from, oh, it's from MAC Cosmetics, Love Cloud. You can see it's a little blown out, but it's kind of like a peachy pink color, more on the side of pink. I'm gonna take a Wayne Goss 14 brush. I like this one because the bristles are very dispersed. It's not going to deposit too much pigment at once. Bring this really high up to give you more of like that lifted cheek. Taking it pretty much underneath the eye. Beautiful, I love that color. Pulling that up into the hairline a little bit more. A little on the center of the nose. Just want to reinforce that bronzer on the hairline a little bit more. Fading that inwards. So what I'm doing is actually I'm taking this brush and I'm putting more pressure around the hairline, and then as I'm moving towards the center of my face, I'm almost like loosening my grip on the brush just to get a lighter disbursement, because we don't want too much color in the center. We just kind of want like a little light wash as it fades into the center. Okay, I'm just gonna actually take that same bronzer. I wanna give myself a little bit, just a little bit of a nose contour, nothing too major. I generally don't even really like a nose contour on me, but I do want a little bit more focus right here. Yeah, that's a little better. And I'm taking that right into the socket. I'm just gonna take my little spongy, blend that in. It's not super noticeable. Let's move on to lips. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and use the Morphe Soul Matte in the shade Honey. Just a pretty pinky brown color. I'm not a big user of Morphe, but there's a pretty shade. So I definitely don't overdraw my lips. I have very full lips, so there's really no need for me to, but this side of my lips always tends to kind of curve more, while this one tends to have kind of like to drop down. So what I'm gonna do, and this is a trick I learned from my old boss, I'm just gonna take a little bit of the foundation, just on a flat, I think this is like a 242 from MAC. I don't know if they make this brush anymore either. Just so sad because this is definitely one of my favorite brushes. I'm gonna go ahead and just try to conceal the edge a little bit more. There we go, it's pretty. Just gonna go ahead and fix one little part. I'm gonna go ahead and top it with the Dior Lip Glow Color Reviver Balm. This one is the shade, I think it's Mahogany. I have been wearing this color like non-stop. Mine is so beat up, please don't make fun of me. I'm just gonna apply it. Ah, so pretty. And here's the final look. Take these out, zhuzh the hair a little bit, and here we go. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe for more future content. And if you haven't already, please check out part 1 of this makeup tutorial where I show you how to achieve this eyeshadow look designed for hooded eyes. Thanks for watching, everyone.